Hi everyone, and welcome to the Financial Horse Podcast. He started his business when he was only 17. Together with his co-founder, he started a service-based business which quickly turned into a web hosting company, VODIEN. In 2017, VODIEN got acquired by a public company in the biggest deal there was in Southeast Asia for a pure-play hosting company. Alvin has left VODIEN, and you can follow his adventures on alvinpoh.com.
One of the changing points in my life is the fact that I could go overseas to study. Just doing that really opened my perspective because I met a lot of people who were very different from people I've experienced and met in my life in Singapore. So I went to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the people that I met there, not everybody was like that, but there were some people that were really passionate and very, very interested in the subjects that they did, like especially in computer science and computers in general, programming, technology. Having the right kind of education, I feel, can really transform people. The right kind of education in the sense that people or students know why they're studying is important. In the system that I went through, at least back then, 20, 30 years ago, the how was emphasized, right? Like how you study the subjects, but the why wasn't very emphasized. Why do you need to study? Why are you doing this? Why are you learning the subjects you're learning? They don't have like role models or inspiration or people to look up to understand what the future could be if they got some measure of proficiency in the subject.
Most businesses, they fail in their first 2 to 3 years. I think about 80% of businesses will fail then. But yours was an amazing success story. Do you have any advice today for a young person who wants to quit his job and start a business?
At least for the startups that I've seen recently, and roughly falls into two camps right now. One is the people who want the next fantastic business idea and hope to be the next Uber or Airbnb, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram. I think that's great, but it's quite a big leap. The other way to start a business is to actually start a service-based business. So that's a business where you can actually like be profitable in your first day or your first month, where you actually clients getting paid for the work they are doing, and then you can slowly explore entrepreneurship because you've got to start handling things like accounting, HR, finance, marketing, sales, whatever, right? And so that gives you a really good in-depth way of getting your feet wet, your hands dirty, and learning how to be an entrepreneur.
If I'm hearing you right, it's a lot about starting small and growing from there.
Yeah, I mean, with anything in life also, I feel you've got to actually go do it. You're going to be bad at it. There's a process also with entrepreneurship.
Do you have any tips for such an entrepreneur who is trying to come up with an idea for a business he should start? Do you think he should start with something he's familiar with or something that there's a market demand for?
Yeah, for sure. I feel that it's a process. It first of all has to be something that is close to him. So in terms of whether or not he is good at it or whether or not he likes the topic, those are advantages to people.
A lot of the new startups these days are built around raising lots of VC cash, private equity, and they employ a high cash burn strategy. For VODIEN, you guys bootstrapped the company entirely in your early days.
Yeah.
Which do you think is the better approach for someone these days?
Well, it really, really depends. Some businesses really require a high cash burn. Some businesses, they really require a lot of capital, especially like for inventory or research and development. Even things like building IP, intellectual property, like for games or films. Not every business requires that. And so if you start maybe service-oriented or service-based, for a business like that, I really don't think you should start with a very high cash burn. You shouldn't start looking at fancy offices or any of the optional extras. I think you should look at, first of all, to be profitable, because I mean that's essentially what a business is, right?
That's actually an interesting point because a lot of the big startups these days, things like WeWork, Uber, they're actually not even profitable.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that being profitable is a big part of your philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, from what I see, it's one of the more important metrics of a business. If you are profitable, then you will survive, and it's easy to grow because I mean you've got the profits to do so, and that's like the number one signal of a successful business. I know there are businesses out there like you mentioned, Uber, WeWork, that might not be profitable, but maybe they have a long-term business plan in that case. And if that is the nature of their business model, then fine. I think people just need to understand that not all businesses are the same. And so you shouldn't just start a business thinking that you can get capital and thinking that you have a high cash flow burn and thinking that you shouldn't be profitable. I think eventually even the Ubers and the WeWorks, they need to be profitable. I think it's just a matter of perspective.
From your perspective, how do you see the entire startup and entrepreneurship space evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think businesses these days are very different in the way that they have evolved over the years. When I was first starting my business, I realized even something like starting your website was a really tough process. You don't get site builders or like ready-made template. And these days, when you want to start a business or a website, you can get any of those services, and that's incredible because that shortens that cycle so much, and you don't need like people to help you with that process. It's pretty much anybody that can use a computer can actually get a website running already, and so that really lowers the barrier for people to just like start something. It's easy enough to just create a website now so you can start selling your products and services already, and so I think the whole process is going to be geared towards like making things a lot easier for businesses to handle, such that the commoditized services are no longer something that people should worry about, and the focus starts to gear towards what your differentiating factor truly is and what kind of value can you bring to the table.
After selling your company for 30 million, what's your investment strategy for yourself these days?
Keep it simple. That's my strategy. I've tried investing on my own, I tried trading on my own, and after like going through all of that, I feel like the best thing to do is just to keep it simple, let the market do its work, and the only way you can do that is truly to be diversified as possible. Let time do its work, to be patient, to know that investments are a really long-term game.
So I guess based on your investment strategy, you don't invest in things like VC funds or private equity.
I actually do, but it's a certain percentage. Like, it's not the core of my portfolio. So I have a core portfolio that's stable, that's very simple, that's basically hands-free, and I have a certain percentage to look at alternative investments and more speculative ones.
Do you invest in high-risk investments like cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I actually did dabble in it, but again, it was just a small amount. Mostly because I know that it's not going to be my core, but it's also something that seems like a very popular thing to be part of. So yeah. So as long as the portfolio is robust enough to take into considerations all these things, I think it's a fair thing to do. So then you know that if something goes wrong with one of the more speculative investments that you make, it's not going to affect you, or it's not going to impact your portfolio that much. I think it's been like hit and misses.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I know that I only committed that much.
So, tech guy, do you think that cryptocurrencies are here to stay? Are they going to grow into the next big asset class?
I like what Facebook did with Libra. I think that might be a real game changer. Well, it is a digital currency, but it's going away from what we knew of with all the ICOs and crypto, the coins. That's probably going to be a lot more legit. If it really works, I think we're going to see a huge change in the way that we conduct trade and we do business globally.
Tell me one thing you know to be true. It can be anything, but which not many people would agree with.
Well, I think focus is super important. People don't know how to say no enough. You probably have to say no to a lot of good ideas or even great ideas in order to focus on the one single thing that will make a difference in your company. When I was younger, I was very susceptible to that as well, and it's known as the shiny object syndrome. So both in my personal life and my business life, there was always something very shiny, something very attractive that you could be working on, that you could just do. It's such a distraction from what you should really be doing and pursuing in order to get to where you want to be. So for example, if we were wanting to grow our business to be the best hosting provider in Singapore, there were other things that we could be focusing on as well. Like we could work on, say, maybe introducing a site builder in our portfolio, or linking up with, say, other service providers to provide like all-in-one solution to our customers. These are all things that seem to make a lot of sense. But if you really look at it, it's not gonna make you the best hosting experience in Singapore if you go pursue all these things. In fact, that will just dilute your messaging and dilute your focus. So I think the one important thing that people should really do is just focus. Learn how to identify what your main goal is, and learn how to say no to almost everything else that's not gonna help you reach your main goal.